For the past year, our Verify team has been tracking the impact of Washington's Cap and Invest program on our gas prices. Since then, we have seen prices rise significantly, but how much of it is because of the carbon market? Well, I sat down with 3 experts to try to get an answer, and for the first time, the state is telling me the impact is much higher than they thought it would be. It's been 11 months since the Climate Commitment Act took effect in Washington. The new law aims to do things like reduce greenhouse gas emissions and our dependence on fossil fuels. One of the ways the state is doing that is by making the state's largest pollution emitters buy carbon offset credits at quarterly auctions. The program is quickly generating a lot of revenue.
And we've raised a lot of money. We think so far we've raised about $1.3 billion. So that's a lot of money.
That's Luke Martland with the Department of Ecology and the implementation manager for the Climate Commitment Act. He says the legislature will ultimately decide exactly how that money is spent, but it will be invested in things like clean energy and dealing with the impact of climate change. But the new law has also led to higher prices at the pump. How much higher? Depends on who you ask.
Does ecology know or have a way to track how much it attributes an increase in gas prices to the law specifically?
It's hard to make that connection month by month or week by week, but we have estimated that we think the impact could be around 25 cents a gallon, maybe 27 cents a gallon, and these are only estimates.
25 to 27 cents a gallon more for gas, much different from what the state told us last winter.
I really don't think it's going to be noticeable.
That prediction was at odds with an article published by Todd Meyers with the Washington Policy Center. Before the law took effect, he predicted it would drive up prices nearly 50 cents a gallon.
Right. Looking back at that prediction now, how are you feeling about it today?
Well, a year ago, we predicted, and based on the Department of Ecology's own projections, that it would add about 46 cents a gallon. The prices, interestingly, turned out to be just about correct. We're currently about 40 cents a gallon higher than Oregon. At the end of last year, Oregon and Washington had virtually identical prices. We're now about between 35 and 40 cents a gallon higher than they are, so they've turned out to be correct.
Since Meyers and Ecology disagree on how much the CCA has driven up prices, we turn to another source for more analysis.
Have you seen a direct correlation between the Cap and Invest program taking effect and an increase in gas prices in Washington?
It looks like there was a direct impact.
Patrick Dahon is the head of petroleum analysis for GasBuddy, which tracks prices at about 150,000 gas stations in the U.S. and Canada. He says Washington now has the 3rd highest prices in the country, behind only Hawaii and California.
In fact, just in Washington state did we see an abrupt sudden jolt higher in gasoline prices. That's likely attributed to the cap and trade program being implemented. Back prior to the new year, Oregon and Washington prices were virtually neck and neck. Now, Washington prices are about $4.45, whereas Oregon is about $4.15. So certainly a much bigger gap that has been relatively consistent since the start of the year.
While Ecology admits the new law has resulted in higher prices at the pump, they don't believe it's the primary factor at play. They argue things like supply and refinery issues also have an impact.
We do think Cap and Invest has an impact on those prices, but it's just one of the factors that drives those increases, and now more recently the prices going down.
While the prices have been dropping as we head into winter, Dahon says Washington drivers should expect to keep paying among the highest prices in the nation.
Washington will probably be very primed to continue being the 3rd most expensive state in the nation.
So the Department of Ecology is working to stabilize prices with the Cap and Invest program. Earlier this month, the state announced its plan to link its carbon market with California and Quebec. The hope is that by doing that, it would stabilize prices. But Ecology told me that process could take a couple of years. And we have a lot more Verify content on our streaming platform, KREM 2+. It is free to download on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.